Yeah, I'm just gonna not do that to Twitter. Right. So, Martin Bond, are you in? Oh, you're in now. Cool. Right. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Much appreciated. Looks like I caught Chris at work. What are you building today, Chris? You build. What are you building?
Oh, I'm just a house.
Just a house.
Just a house.
Man, I struggle to build Lego houses, let alone a real one.
We're on price work today. That's why we're going a bit fast.
What does price work mean?
So we get paid basically by the amount of brick. Yeah, it's a set amount. We charge the amount we want. So say to build the whole house, we say like 10 grand. Then if we get it built quicker, then we're quids in.
Okay, cool.
As opposed to day work, where you just get paid set day amount.
Fair enough. Awesome. Right. Let's. Sorry, is YouTube running? Hopefully it is. Yes, it is. So. Okay. Those on YouTube, hey. Nice to meet you all. Let's start again. Let's imagine it's 12 o'clock again. Right. So as I mentioned, I am not going to be talking about cryptos today, simply because I've got a 2-hour live session at 2 o'clock for my traders called the Trading Pub, and I'll be talking about cryptos there. However, I can summarize everything into a little nutshell, and that the pullback we've had over the weekend is simply just a pullback. So treat it as such. This is not the top of the market. We've got a long way to go. So I am ignoring it, and I am rapidly trying to put more capital into cryptos. Annoyingly, I've got a whole bunch of capital locked up in various places. I'm like, give me my own money back. So yeah, that's it. Right. So as I was saying, we're going to go through some biz questions. And tomorrow, my hairdresser's coming around. So I'll have shorter hair tomorrow, hopefully. It's just a bit of a mess. It's like a weird microphone. Right, so share screen. And Harvinder asked a question. Wherever that question's gone, come on, let's go back to the discussion. And he said, hey, Simon, I wondered if you could talk more in depth about what one should do once they've hit their A number. So for those of you who are not familiar with the A number, or the A and B, in fact, there's a lot of familiar faces here. Does anyone here not know what I mean about A and B numbers? Anyone? Or is everyone familiar with the A and B numbers? You don't? Cool. Okay. So, I mean, this won't take long, don't worry. So one thing before we, like, you probably seen me talk about, here's your wealth generation journey and you're starting here and you want to get up here, yada, yada. And before you even, think about what investments you're going to get into, you really need to dial it back a bit and figure out what actually are you aiming for. So, and this is why I've created the A and B numbers. So your A number is your magic wand lifestyle take-home income. So you got a magic wand, and it's like, right, I'm going to wave it. And I would like, in a perfect world, 10 grand a month take home. Okay. Now, I ask people all the time what their A number is, and it ranges between 5 grand a month to 30 grand a month. But most people will be happy as Larry with 10 grand a month take home. So that means 120K take home per year. Okay. And so that's your A number. And this is basically what you should be striving to, your 10K a month, basically. Or 15 grand a month, 20, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat. Now, your B number is the lump sum capital that spits out your A number without you getting out of bed. So if I tend to use 5% as like an ROI. So all you have to do to work out what your B number is take 120K and you divide it by 0.05. So that's what 5%. And so if you get the calculator out and do 120K, divide that by 0.05, that means 2.4 million. However, don't stop there. You'll have all sorts of taxes, leeches, and yeah. When I say leeches, they could be old friends going, "Oh, I always believed in you, Simon," and they're just around you because you've got money now and stuff like that. So let's just bump this up for shits and giggles up to 3 million, and then I always add 1 million for more shits and giggles, therefore 4 mil. So let's work backwards now. So if you ever came into 4 million quid, whether it's the lottery or whatever, or this is your long-term goal, right? I just need 4 million quid in cash, because then you can blow £1 million on boats and hoes. Doodads, fun stuff, house, cars, whatever you want, or boats and hoes. So sorry, I'm probably going to get a reaction to that. I apologize if I am. That'll leave you with 3 million quid. And then after taxes and all sorts of stuff, let's say you're then left with 2.4 mil. If you were to then plow that into some really boring bulletproof fund or investment, whatever it may be, that chucked out 5% per year, that's going to give you 120 grand a year, i.e. 10K a month take home. So there you have 2.4 million in cash sat somewhere, chucking out 5% a year, and that's your A number. So this is like your compass. It's your financial compass. And it's like, right, what am I aiming for? I'm aiming for this, my A number and my B number. Now, what Harvinder said is a bit of a champagne question, because he's like, well, what should one do once they hit their A number? And the reason I'm going through this is because a lot of people, it's a really good question in many different ways. Now, before you're sat there thinking, wait a minute, I'm nowhere near my A number, let alone, I'm not, like, let's say that is your A number, and you're nowhere near it. Don't switch off, because there's a lot to learn from this. So all I can tell you is from my own hindsight. And I screwed up big time, because I think at one point in my life, my A number was 10 grand a month. And I was aiming for something like 4 million, etc. And so I was doing the best in fact, are you guys still here? Sorry, the Zoom's frozen. Oh, cool. I can see the nodding. Sweet. It looks like the YouTube just isn't working. So, okay. Sorry, YouTube. The live chat. Are there any? Sorry, folks. Oh, man. Here we go. I can't find anything on YouTube. So I'm just going to have to stop that. Yeah. So years ago, I had 10K a month take home, and a rough, the B number was roughly about the same. And so I got into business, and I was like, okay. And what happened is I set up a business, and I got that. So it was making 10K a month profit, 10K per month profit. And what actually happened? So in fact, I've got loads of horror stories around this. Loads of different, completely separate horror stories. So this was really early in my business. So probably, 8 years ago. So I was like, right, I was obsessed with this 10 grand a month figure. Because bearing in mind, for the most of my life, I was only taking home probably anywhere between 1,500 to 200-300 a month. For most of my adult life, from the age of 18 to 25 years old, that was basically my take-home salary in the Air Force and etc. And so having this target of 10 grand a month was like, it seemed ridiculous, to 5x my income. It didn't seem plausible. Anyway, got into business, and after a few years, managed to get a business making 10 grand a month profit. And I was like, sweet, I'm Billy Big Balls here. And so what did I go and do? I went and started taking home, not 10, it was just under 10. I think I was like, okay, business is making 10 grand a month. It's fine as it is. I'll start taking home 9 grand a month. I left 1 grand a month in the business, just to help tick it over, blah, blah, blah. Bob's your uncle. And all was great for about 6, maybe 9 months. And there was me thinking, I've nailed this bloody wealth generation journey. It's a piece of piss, this. And then a downturn happened. And so what happened is later, so let's say this was the, 1 year of that business. And let's say beginning of the year, things would grow profit. And I was basically fleecing my company, basically just bleeding it dry with cash flow, because I was just taking home £9,000 a month, roughly, from here to here. But then something bad happened. I can't remember. I've had lots of different businesses and lots of bad things have happened to all the different businesses. But all I remember is something bad happened, and the profitability went from like 10 grand a month to I was like losing 3-4 grand a month. That's 3 to 5K per month or whatever. Something bad happened. I was just bleeding cash because I had lots of staff, sales weren't coming in. I still have to pay my staff and all that, the business overheads, yada, yada, yada. But what happened is that by the end of year end, I'd actually posted a loss, which is horrendous because I think I had a whole big chunky losses, and on average, it was about £5,000 a month loss or whatever. But by the year end, biz equaled minus money. So what happened is, let's say I did 9 months of doing that. So I don't know, let's just say I took in 90 grand of dividends. Remember, a dividend is only something that you can take if the company's made profit. But what actually happened was over here, by the end of the year end, the company didn't make any profit for that year, which meant that this 90 grand, which I thought was dividends, had now all of a sudden converted into an overdrawn director's loan account, an ODLA. Bad news. Now, if you have an overdrawn director's loan account, what this basically means is, I'm not an accountant, so I really struggle remembering accounting type stuff. But if you take any money out, so let's say, I don't know, today is what, the 26th of April. And let's say I have a losing business and I take out 10 grand, what's called an illegal dividend. It's not illegal, as in you're not breaking the law, but it's not a dividend. It's actually, you think it's profit, but actually the business isn't making any profit. So actually it's treated as a director's loan. Now you have, I think off the top of my head, 90 days to pay that back into the business. So if you don't put that 10 grand back into the business within 90 days, it then gets treated, you're then taxed. I don't know how much tax, but you're then taxed basically. And so that's what happened. There I was thinking I was king of the world, making 10 grand a month profit. I was bleeding my business. It was great taking in that 9 grand a month or whatever. And guess what I was doing? I was spending it. And so then I got in this weird situation where, oh shit, the business wasn't making any profit. I had an overdrawn director's loan account. And guess what? My personal spending had grown. So my whole lifestyle had grown accustomed to that 9 grand a month. New cars, new expenses, flashy holidays, all that sort of stuff. So I was up shit's creek. I was like, shit, I don't have the money. I can't pay the 90 grand back into the business because I freaking spent it all. And the business wasn't doing very well. So so I guess there's loads of learning points from here. So the first learning point is, when your business starts doing well, don't bleed it, because you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the year. The other learning point is, if your business is doing well, like this previous thing, don't just take out every freaking penny of profit like I was doing. Have your normal salary, but then take maybe 2 grand a month, and wait the end of year end to so is your business actually making profits. Another learning point is, don't let your personal outgoings rise with your income. That's called Parkinson's law. Nature abhors a vacuum, basically. And by the way, I'm just going to mute you all here. Mute all. Here we go. And by the way, I'm still reeling from the ramifications of bad personal spending, to the point where I actually did a little check on my personal outgoings. My monthly personal outgoings are about 8 grand a month right now. I thought it was 7.5 last week, but I checked. It's close. I think it's like 8,100 actually, something like that. And that's personal outgoings. So I've got to take that an income just to break even. Now, yeah, just because I've been silly with my personal outgoings, and it's also because I've been accustomed to, you know, nicer things. So if I was ruthless, yeah, I could shred that, but I choose not to. So that's now like my benchmark, and it's just bad spending habits. It's ironic. You can be a very good business owner, but still be shit with your personal spending. And I've, you know, I guess I still am shit with my personal spending. I like spending. I like buying stuff. Put a Facebook advert in front of me and I'll buy it. So the so there's whole, in fact, there's probably more learning points with that little story there. But I guess the main thing I really want to talk about is if you get a business. Whoops, where's my pen gone? And let's say you've done really well and your business got to 10 grand a month, really not focusing on your dividends. Okay. So you have to treat your business like it's yourself. So you, as in that's you, whether you're a boy or a girl or whatever. I guess you know have hair like that if you're a boy. You want to become financially independent. Okay. But don't forget, you need to make your business financially independent as well. And most people completely ignore their business. So what I did was I was trying to become financially independent by rinsing my business, but I was screwing the pooch here. So what I personally mean by financial independence is where the recurring revenue or income matches or exceeds outgoings. So that is what I mean. So if you have this business which is making 10 grand a month profit, I don't know, let's just say, let's move. Yeah. So let's make this clearer. So let's say your business has, I don't know, it's doing, 25 grand a month in revenue. You've probably got 15 grand a month in OPEX, operational expenditure, so outgoings basically. And then you're left with 10K a month profit, let's just say. I know you probably, let's call it 10 grand a month profit because the rest is, 10 grand a month in outgoings and all the bits and bobs are taxes or whatever. So let's say you're left with 10K a month profit. I know the maths doesn't work out exactly, but I'm just being broad brush. So before you even think of taking mad dividends from your fancy new business, you need to work on getting your business airtight. And the way to get that airtight is you need to think about, okay, I've got 10 grand a month of outgoings here. How, what recurring revenue can I make? So I'm making at least 10 grand a month in revenue automatically. So let's say this 25K a month in revenue is all one-off sales. You've just built a house, then you sold it, or whatever, or a widget, it doesn't matter. Can you try and convert some of this income into recurring? So direct debits, are they paying a 12-month contract? Are they whatever? There's all sorts of different ways you can have recurring revenue. But when you get to the point where of that 25K, 10K a month of it is all in direct debits or payment plans or whatever, then you can really pat yourself on the back because your business is now financially independent, pretty much. Now, the other thing here that a lot of people think is that people think financial independence is like a permanent milestone, but it's not. You can become financially independent one day, and a week later, you can lose that status because recurring revenue, any investment, is not like permanent. It can disappear in a second. Like, yeah, you got 10K a month of recurring revenue in this example, but something bad could happen, and you could lose all of that, and then before you know it, your business is not financially independent anymore. But it's a good milestone to at least aim for. And then you just need to make sure, or then just focus on growing this recurring revenue so it's more than your OPEX. And I can't breathe today. And I cannot stress how much weight gets lifted off your shoulder when at the beginning of your month, you know that all of your outgoings are covered. Whereas I've got businesses I've had businesses where, I've got 10 grand a month in outgoings, and on day one of the month, the 1st of May, I'll be like, oh, I've got to make 10 grand just to cover my outgoings. And it's like hustle. And so it just, you can breathe a lot better. And then when your business is, hunky dory, then you can think about, taking more income from your business. But here's the thing: you're going back to Harvinder's question, where he said, what do you do once you've hit your A number? That I wouldn't take your foot off the pedal. And I've done this several times. So this, that crazy example up here where, I basically ruined myself. I've done this probably 3 or 4 times, and I've learned different lessons along the way. So I've had a very rough business road over the last 10 years. I've done every mistake possible. So once you let's say you've got to this amazing position where your business is making 10 grand a month in recurring revenue, etc., and it's chucking out some nice profits, that's not the end. That is simply the beginning of your nice journey. So and what I would personally do is focus everything on this business and don't do anything until that business is making 20 grand a month profit. So the thing that I've learned in recent years is that I can get businesses pretty easily to 5-10 grand a month in a very short period of time, as in profit. I quite like the startup space. I find it really easy. However, what I've done in the past is, I've got a business to 10 grand a month profit. And I then go looking for the next shiny object. And I go, I'm going to do this business. And then I start spending time setting up another startup, because that's where it's just all fun and exciting when you set up a new business. Like right now, my new shiny object is My Fairy Pen Pal. Yeah, My Fairy Pen Pal. This is the business side hustle that I'm running with my wife. And we're now booming that business. It's fantastic. I mean, just check this out. Bit of a sidestep, but we're running some heavy ads at the moment, or not heavy, that we're driving loads of traffic to this landing page. 8-week trial. Come on, there should be a pop-up here. Oh, what's going on with my internet? There we go. But I'll talk about this in a sec. But yeah, we're driving. We're spending about 600 quid a day on Facebook. I've had a few campaigns which didn't work too well, but now I've nailed it. So 4th time lucky. So we're spending 600 quid a day on this advert right now. And we turned this on yesterday, 2 days ago. 2 days ago. So, so what's happening here is that we've got 56 new trialers. It's costing us £28.15 per trialer. However, the trialer is paying us 15 quid. So actually the cost per lead is only, call it 15 quid. And it's great. And so we're just going to pile into this. Now, the reason I had a whole bunch of different ad campaigns is I was doing a bit of CRO, conversion rate optimization. I knew that the landing page could be better and get better results. Because when it first started, the first campaign we did, the CPL, the cost per lead, was £44. I was like, something's gone wrong here. This is not good. And I tried a few different things. So here are the tweaks. So first of all, I put an exit pop on the page. So if I refresh this whole page, let's start again. So first of all, if the mouse moves out of the browser, an exit pops up. Here we go. And it says, wait, please don't go somewhere in the fairy kingdom. The fairy is waiting for. So it's just another. Some people hate exit pops, but it helps with the conversion. So that's there. And also, I thought, judging by the comments on the Facebook ads, there's still a bit of uncertainty because people don't trust Facebook ads. They're like, is this a company where they're going to take my money and run away? So I got Ellie to do. Ellie, this is my wife, Ellie. That's a great thumbnail. I've got Ellie to do a quick 30 to add legitimacy to the business. So, just to make it more real. So in fact, I'll play it. I may as well play it.
I'm Ellie. Thank you so much for clicking on our page. I just wanted to show you a really special place. So this is the Fairy Post Office, and this is our very special wall full of letters from children all over the country to fairies all over the fairy kingdom. So we love this wall. It's really, really special. And this is a pile of fairy gifts which is waiting to go out to their pen pals. So if you would like a fairy pen pal, just click the Find Your Fairy button, and one of these lovely parcels will be on its way to you.
So, yeah, just a really quick video. However, that 30 seconds is enough to basically show you that this is a real business. This, and we're not going to just take your money and run away. And we also got our niece in to take some pictures in. So yeah, a little bit of effort, because we then had to get the niece in, put her in some fairy outfits, and then yeah, we've got a whole bunch of other stuff. But so little tweaks and that helps, and it's really helping with the ads. So we're now going to blast this 600 quid a day, and yeah, we should get quite a few leads from this. So, and the beauty of it is, check this out. When you get a nice ad going, if I show you look at this. In 2 days, this advert's had 121 shares and 269 comments in 2 days, which is insane. Which for Facebook, like, I'm finding marketing My Fairy Pen Pal really, really easy. Whereas when I try and market the WAP, it's like dragging people naked to a thorn bush. It's like, it's really hard. My mate's playing Age of Empires. I want to join him. Anyway, so it's just amazing. So yeah, we're now just going to double down on this. Yeah. Anyway, so what was I talking about? I've gone off on one here. I've really gone off on the So my going back to the main point here is my little personal thing or rule is that do not move on to the next shiny object, the next business opportunity, because there's always, like, everyone here is going to be pounded with business opportunities left, right, and center, especially with crypto and all that. But don't do it until your main business is making 20 grand a month and it's financially independent. Because in the past, I've moved on to the next business opportunity, and then whilst I was focusing on the on the new fancy thing over here, my starts dropping, and all of a sudden you end up in the situation where you're running too many businesses and they're all not making any profit. And that's happened, by the way. There probably about 5 years ago, I got into the situation where I had 5 businesses, but I'd moved off, and I started with one good business, and it was doing really well. And then over the period of a couple of years, I then ended up with 2, 3, 4, 5 businesses, but my attention and time was spread so thin that every single business was losing money, which was just painful because I built up a whole bunch of cash that profitable business number 1 was making, and then all of a sudden I ended up in a situation where all of these businesses were just bleeding capital. I remember 2018 being a horrendous year for me. So business-wise, 2018 was my worst year I've ever had. It was, oh man, so much happened in 2018, not just business, but personal life and everything. So, but I probably lost about 300, 400 grand of personal money in 2018, trying to keep my businesses afloat. Because I got into the situation where I had 15 businesses in 2018. And I think it got to the point where 90% of them were losing money. Yeah, something like that. And in that whole year, from sort of beginning of 2018 to sort of early 2019, my hands are gone all clammy just trying to relive it. It was horrendous. I basically had to take money from my own personal bank account, investments and savings and all that sort of stuff. A lot of my crypto profits I made from 2017. I think let's just call it 400K. I then had to basically just on a monthly basis kept on putting personal cash into the bank accounts just to cover payroll. And it was ridiculous. And I was like, what the hell am I doing here with 15 freaking businesses? It was just insane. And so I've been quickly trying to get rid of businesses. So I'm down to 9, and it's just horrendous. And I just need to get rid of a whole bunch more. It was just, I don't know what the hell I was doing, but it was great because 2016 to 2017 was just epic. A big percentage of those businesses were doing really well. And yeah, I think when I look back at 2018, I should have done I should have been a lot more cutthroat. So this is, oh wow, this is going into different things now. So I've the I don't know. My parents have always said that I've got a good bone in my body, or my bones are good, too good. I don't know what do they say. My dad says I've got too many good bones in my body, and the reason being is I think I'm a people. Well, I'm not, I don't think I know. I'm a people pleaser. Um, I don't like it when people are unhappy in my sort of life, so to speak. So I try and make. Yeah, I'm a people pleaser, and it hurts and it ends up hurting yourself. So if we have two scenarios here of what I did compared to what I should have done, the action points are is hard. Now, what I should have done in hindsight, I still consider brutal, and I've spoken to my business mentors and some other biz mates who I respect, and they say, yeah, you should have definitely done this. But even now, even with hindsight, I still think the actions I should have taken would probably been a bit too brutal. So what I actually did was I had lots of staff. I'm just going to write normal instead here, which I didn't need. I had loads of staff which I didn't need, to the point where I identified at the time I had about 12 members of staff which really I didn't need. They were doing nothing. They weren't moving the needle. They weren't paying for themselves. They weren't doing. But the thing is, when I look at staff members, the salary you're paying them pays for their rent and mortgage. So if you've got 12, a team of 12, you're basically helping pay their rent and mortgage and food, food for their family, etc. And if you are cutthroat and you just make them redundant or fire them or whatever, you then got 12 people that all of a sudden now jobless, no money, and it's even worse when they have a young family, And so when I was looking at these 12 really not useless but redundant people for the business at that point, and a whole bunch of them had young families, I just couldn't pull the trigger. I couldn't do it. And what was the payroll? I think it was let's call it an average of £2,000 a month each. So what is £2,000 a month times 12? That's 24 grand a month. I was bleeding. So the seesaw I had was, do I make all these people redundant and save 24 grand a month? And that would really have helped me because that was coming out my personal freaking bank account, that 12 grand a month. But then I guess the other side of that was feelings. I was too soft. In hindsight, I think I was too soft because a lot of these people really didn't give a shit about me or my business. And I know that in moving further, in later, like, I don't know how to explain this without using harsh words. There have been occasions in the past where later on down the line, it was very obvious that, the member of staff didn't give a shit about me or the business. They weren't, they didn't buy into, they weren't part of the vision, whatever. And yeah. And so in hindsight, I really should, maybe not all 12 of them, but I could have at least easily have made 8 of them redundant. It's like very recently oh no, it's too recent. I can't talk about that. So what I should have done, so yeah, looking at it in hindsight, the brutal thing, and I would probably be because when I look at the opportunity cost of what I lost in 2018 and what I would have applied it, I probably lost out on a good £3 million of opportunity cost. So I would probably be about £3 million richer right now if I was brutal. And what I should have done if I, was like, screw this, I'm just going to be logical. So here I was very illogical, which is not normal for me. Because logic is my religion. And I was illogical over here with many things I did because I simply let my feelings command my actions. Whereas I should have basically liquidated probably 6, maybe 7 businesses. I should have literally just folded them, just completely killed them. I should have made 25 odd staff redundant. Be focused on my core 4. Like throughout the years, I've really had a 4 businesses which are my bread and butter, which are easy to run, they're profitable, blah blah blah. I think this is what I should have done, and had I done it, I'd be £3 million richer right now. So, but then again,
can I add?
Yeah, it's Adam, go for it, mate.
So can you hear me? Okay, actually, I'm on my phone.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. So this situation happened to me in 2012, almost identical. So
nice.
I had a lead generation company, and we employed 12 people, and we only really needed 4 people, but they were like good people, like they were decent people, and they needed the job. And what happened was our company actually got bought out by a much larger company. And the first thing that they did was get rid of the excess staff. They're just brutal, completely brutal. That's the first thing that they did, and it curtailed my journey massively by keeping those people on the books. Looking back at it now, what was stopping me was the fact that I just didn't want to put those people out of work. But the reality of it is, they would have just found something else. They didn't really buy into the business. They just wanted a job. Which is really difficult, because it was my own personal values were being tested of, do I take this person's job away from them? And this was sort of a few months before Christmas, when I was really going through the finances, looking at it. I'm like, we're losing like 18 grand a month on these people that are just not revenue generating. It's crazy. So hindsight's very useful with this, is just the point that I'd add. But I think it's a real balance between, is someone just a payroll number or their actual person? A really difficult one.
It's tough, especially like in some of the businesses I've had. We have really tight knit teams, so like especially during that period, like like our main team, we were doing something fun every month. So we're as a team, we're going go-karting or paintballing or doing like indoor skydiving and stuff. So it's a pretty close-knit team. And so like when it comes to, and this is why I had too many feelings and I was too illogical, because, I made the mistake of thinking that a lot of these team members were my friends, but they're not. And that's another whole can of worms, where when you're an employer, are you their friend or are you an employer? And I thought I could be both. And I think you can be both to a degree, but not to everyone. I guess it's just learning. It's just all experience. And this is the shit that people don't see when they're seeing a YouTube advert or Facebook advert going, hey, set up a business. It's simple. It's not simple. There's like so many hurdles. So on the flip side, or not on the flip side, I have a friend who had 400 staff back at 2020, he's got a big business. He's got 400 staff. The second March lockdown happened, what did he do? He made something like 380 staff redundant, literally in that opening week. Boom, 380 staff redundant. And when I saw that, I was like, fucking hell, mate, that is brutal. And he walked and he was like, yeah, mate, but look at my outgoings. 400 staff, call them that, 400 times an average, or let's call it, these are low paying staff. So let's say an average of 1,600 quid, when you include PAYE, etc. So 400 staff times 1,600 quid a month. So he's basically spending 640 grand a month on payroll. And he was like, mate, if I don't make everyone redundant, I'm personally going to be bankrupt. And so when you look at it that way, and he's got 2 young kids, and he's like, I don't have 640 grand in my personal bank account. I can't personally bail my business out. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, I go bankrupt, or I just make a whole bunch of people redundant, where most people will, find a job within a month or two. Whereas you would then be bankrupt and then you'll be screwed for years. So yeah, when I spoke with him, I was like, it did make sense. But, this is why headlines on TV, on the newspapers there's no perspective. So if the BBC got hold of that, that situation, they'll be like, local businessman slaughters 380 staff, cutthroat, it's like, yeah, well, either that or his 2 young kids will go without a house and without food. And he tried, and so what happened is that he then helps, he got his HR manager to make sure that those 380 got, whatever furlough, or he put as many on furlough as he could, but I think, yeah, he put a lot on furlough, but even then it was still bleeding him money, because I think the original furlough, you still had to pay like 20%. It was 80% by the government and you had to contribute 20%. And he was like, I can't do it. Because I remember asking, why don't you just put it on furlough? I was like, well, work out the maths, Ian. 20% times 400 staff, it's still, tens of thousands of pounds a month bleeding. So he just made everyone redundant. And then when he was allowed to reopen his business, a large percentage of his staff came back, which is good. But I guess he was lucky. He was lucky they all didn't just get other jobs. But I guess I think getting jobs was pretty tough back then. It still are. Well, it's not tough getting jobs at the moment. What people struggle with is getting the job that they want. There's shitloads of really good jobs out there. I'm looking at Chris right now, who is a builder with his brother. I'm pretty sure he's got jobs that he could pay 9-10 quid an hour for. I know some farmers, strawberry farmers. There's endless amounts of strawberry picking jobs, obviously in the right season. There's endless amounts of, there's all sorts of jobs out there, but people are just too complacent and they're not prepared to, suck it up. If I lost everything, I wouldn't even think twice of, turning down a job. I really wouldn't. Like, what I would probably do is try and get a truck driving job. If I lost everything, the first port of call, I would basically I would write letters to every long haulage company I could find in my local area and try and become a truck driver. Somewhere where I could listen to audiobooks whilst driving. I could, work on my business. Oh, not whilst driving, obviously, but you know what I mean? Something where I could listen to stuff and not be active. Like I was chatting with a friend yesterday who's a DPD driver. I was like, oh, sweet. What are you listening to whilst driving? I was like, are you joking? He said he has to make something like 120 deliveries a day, and every journey is like 2 minutes long. He's like in the car, out of the car, and he has to get to the next delivery like within a certain amount of time. And yeah, so it's like it's a really hectic job. So I was like, oh, screw that. I wouldn't go. I'd look for a more, yeah. So anyway, I'm going, oh God, all of it. I haven't even answered your question, Harvinder. Jesus. So short answer to your question. What should you do once you've hit your A number? I would solidify the business that is chucking out your A number. Make sure it's financially independent, i.e. you've got residual income that's covering your outgoings. Then get it to the point where you're making 20 grand a month profit. Then, and also the caveat with that 20 grand a month profit is that you have a team that is running that business for you. So the business is running for you and it's making 20 grand a month profit. Then you can be freed up to do your next project. Don't do what I did. I learned mergers and acquisitions. I was like, oh, this is an amazing tool. And I just went around buying businesses like an idiot. And then 2018 was basically the universe saying, this is what happens to idiots, Simon. Bad things happen to idiots. So, yeah, the universe taught me a lesson in 2018. I got my ass handed to me. And I'm still reeling as a result. I should, it hurts because I look back at, what the amount of money I would have put into crypto. Like all the times I put money into crypto, I put, big chunky amount. And if I had been able to put more in, then yeah. So hey ho. It's taken a good 3 years to get back on my feet since 2018. So I think that's all we've got time for, really. It's been a long old session. I don't know. I mean, has today helped? I've really just talked about all sorts of rubbish. In fact, let's look at the chat box. I haven't looked at the chat box at all. So Twitter always brings trolls. Alexander, is this the right time now to enter Doge after a nice pullback? Not talking about crypto. Like if you want Doge for the long run, then yeah. If you think Doge is going to go up in the long term, then yeah. But yeah. So Robbie, good question. He says, does buying crap make you happy? It makes me happy in the 30 seconds after I've bought it. It then makes me happy for probably the day after the product arrives. And then no. So I'm well aware money doesn't necessarily buy you happiness. I just like it's just a little hobby. It doesn't hurt. Happens faster than people think. Yeah, you're right, Adam. It's about values. It's tough. Yeah, so if I was to be presented in the same situation again, so if we go back to, sorry, if I share screen, here we go. So if we go back to this bit here, where is it? If I entered in this same situation again, would I do what I did? I think I would probably do a blend of the two. So I just don't have, thing is, I'm not cutthroat enough to be, so this is where it's worth understanding you as a person, because this is why I know that I'm not going to be like a, a FTSE 100 CEO or like a massive multiple billionaire, because I don't think I'm cutthroat enough. I personally do not believe I am brutal enough. I just have, I'm too soft. And I'm aware of that. And a lot of people are not aware of themselves as much as they should be. And because I'm not as like cutthroat enough, it's going to hinder me in certain things. Now, do I believe I'm going to be a billionaire? Yes, I do. In 50 years' time, most likely. I'm going to use compounding interest, etc. And I know that in 40, 50 years' time, it's highly likely I probably will be a billionaire. Will I be a billionaire anytime soon due to business, etc.? Most likely not. I just don't have what it takes. I do have what it takes to, dick around, or not dick around, but as in play in my tiny fishing pond of, the startup world. But so if in the same situation, I think I'll do a blend of the two. And the people that I end up making redundant, I'll just try my hardest to make sure that they can find another job or whatever. And also it really does help to share with your team your company numbers. I did this a few months ago, and I was like, "Hey guys, what do you think the company outgoings are per month?" And I was just talking about one of the companies, and they're like, "I don't know, 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month." And I was like, "No, it's about 50 to 60 grand a month," and it really helps when your team understands your basic business numbers, because then they start looking for savings and discounts and being more efficient with your spending, etc. And also, if you end up in this situation and you explain the fact that you don't have enough money to bail out your own company, and like the only thing you can do is make everyone redundant, they're not going to hate you. It's like, don't hate the player, hate the game, or hate the situation. So yeah, so that's that. What else is on the chat box? Chris, have you found subscriptions harder to get customers for rather than pay as you go? Yeah. Oh, yes and no. It's not harder. It's just more expensive. So if you have something like My Fairy Pen Pal, which is 50 quid a month, £15 per month, it costs roughly £70, 70 to £90 to get a new customer. So that's a rule of thumb. If you have a recurring revenue thing, you should you should start off with 3 times. Actually, it depends on the business. It really depends on the business. But I'm trying to think of a rule of thumb that will work across most products. So yeah, I've got my calculator here. So if you have something which is 15 quid a month, times that by 12, that's 180. Yeah, I think rough rule of thumb, being very conservative, it's going to cost you a year's worth of revenue. So yeah, if you're charging 15 quid a month, it's going to cost you roughly 180 quid to get a new customer, ballpark. But obviously you can get it down doing all sorts of things. But like the WAP is so freaking hard to get customers for. It's ridiculous. Whereas My Fairy Pen Pal is a piece of piss. So yeah. Right. Any questions? Adam, look at the story of Elon's PA, Mary Beth Brown, for an example of brutal. Yeah. So for those that don't know, so I love Elon, but he is a part of, he also is brutal at the same time. So if you read Ashley Vance's biography of Elon, I don't know, I read this book years ago, but what happened is that his PA, Elon had a PA for years and years and years, and the PA like wanted a massive pay rise. And so Elon looked at it objectively and was like, does this salary warrant this, does this salary that she wanted for warrant that of a PA? So he sent her on something like a 4-week holiday, paid holiday. He was like, go on holiday for 4 weeks. I'm going to do your job and my job at the same time. And after 4 weeks, she came back from holiday, went, right. And he was like, yeah, I know you want a pay rise, but I'm actually going to make you redundant now. Sorry. He realized that he didn't need to spend 100 grand on a PA or whatever salary she was asking for. And yeah, he simply just made that whole role redundant. So that's pretty brutal. And that PA was with him for years. So now, does that make him a bad person? No, it just means that when it comes to business, he's looking at things from a pure numbers point of view. So yeah, and Mike Freeman, he says this is one of the reasons why there will be so many liquidations once the furlough tap is turned off. I agree. Many companies are insolvent, but would rather use furlough to pay staff than lay them off. Yeah, it's true. When furlough ends, I'm gonna have to make people redundant when furlough ends. So yeah, it's tough. Anyway, I'm gonna do one last check to see if there are any comments on YouTube. Here we go. If you have a question, please pop it in the Zoom chat now, because there will be so many liquidations. So, okay, yeah, no business type questions. Streamline has asked, realistically, what kind of percentage can trading on average get you per year? I think I've heard you say 10 to 20%, but doesn't a set and forget world index fund get you about 10% that over, say, 10 years? Oh man, that's another topic altogether. It really depends how long you've been trading and how good you are at trading. But yeah, the set and forget. Yeah, in fact, you say that. Go and have a look at all of the fire and forget, world index funds and see how they've done over the years. They're done pants. So yeah, right. Let's call it a day there. Haven't really talked about anything in particular. I think I've just talked about freaking horror stories today. I hope it helps. I guess tomorrow I'll probably talk about crypto. I can't delay that inevitability. So yeah, I'll talk about crypto tomorrow on the live sesh, and I will see you all soon. Yeah, cheers, folks. Thanks for being here. Don't make my errors in life. And see you tomorrow.